Imagine a life where fear, anxiety, regrets, and inner turmoil simply fade away. A life where no matter what storms come, your heart remains unmoved, your mind clear. Today, I will reveal the secret of top masters, why, once your spiritual or energetic realm ascends, all trouble dissolves as mist before the sun. This is not mysticism fluff or recycled wisdom. This is a map into the inner world that few ever traverse. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed by worry, or frustrated by the inner battles you cannot seem to win, then this video is for you. I'll walk you through the hidden stages of raising your realm, the inner obstacles that block most seekers, and the true method these masters use to transcend suffering. By the end, you will see how you too can begin the journey of eliminating your deepest conflicts at their root. Stay with me, because to ascend your realm is to reclaim serenity, power, and purpose.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really getting into it. We're ascending. We are looking at this pretty profound system, almost like an ancient operating manual for consciousness.
Right.
Pops up in Taoism, Buddhism, Sufism. But it's not magic, right? It's about, well, seriously refining your inner state.
Exactly. It's really a kind of universal technology of the self, you could say. And our sources really stress that this idea of raising your realm, it sounds maybe a bit out there, a bit exotic.
Yeah, it can sound that way.
But it's actually super practical. It just means consciously shifting your own, let's call it vibrational frequency, refining your energy, how you see things, your core intention, moving away from density towards subtlety.
Okay, let's unpack that right away for everyone listening. What exactly is a realm in this context? It's not like a physical place.
No, not at all. Think of it as the quality of your being. It's like a vibrational frequency,
Yeah.
How subtle, or conversely, how dense your whole conscious state is, really moment by moment.
Got it. So dense versus subtle.
Precisely. If you're operating in what we're calling a lower realm, existence feels dense. Life feels like a constant battle,
Yeah.
dominated by reactive emotions, loads of fear, this feeling of being trapped inside yourself.
Okay.
And everything gets filtered through these really stark dualities. You're either the victim or you're the aggressor. You're winning or you're losing. This constant inner conflict zone that is the low realm.
And the higher realm is basically the opposite. It's characterized by what? Spaciousness?
Spaciousness is a great word for it. A free heart. A mind that isn't constantly grabbing onto things, and life feels guided by clarity, not just knee-jerk reactions.
Okay.
And when you access that higher state, the tension in those dualities we mentioned, it just starts to dissolve, to collapse.
So our mission today is really to map out the mechanics of how you make that shift. How does that happen?
Well, we have to start with the why. Why do we suffer in the first place? The core idea, and our sources really hammer this home, is that the troubles we face externally, the drama, the pain, they aren't actually from out there. They're more like reflections of stuff going on inside, internal mismatches, conflicts we haven't resolved.
Okay, but I think a lot of people, myself included sometimes, hear that and it sounds a bit like, spiritual bypassing. Like if my boss is genuinely making my life difficult or I'm facing financial disaster, am I just supposed to pretend that's not happening? Where's the line?
That's the crucial question, absolutely. And the line isn't about pretending reality isn't real. It's about figuring out where the suffering actually comes from.
Ah, okay.
The difficult boss is a fact, sure. But the suffering, the crushing anxiety, the looping thoughts, the tension in your shoulders that gets generated by the inner friction.
So the friction point, that's where these different internal bits clash.
Yes, exactly. Your inner realm, when it's dense or, let's say, operating at a lower frequency, it's full of these conflicting fragments. You've got suppressed wounds, deep fears, unmet needs, all these powerful stories the ego tells about who you are or should be. When these fragments are all sort of buzzing at the same time, the tension between them, that friction, is what bubbles up as anxiety or depression or just that deep sense of suffering. The energy's blocked.
Can we use that desire and shatter example again, make it really concrete?
Sure. So imagine you have this deep, high-frequency desire, right, for connection maybe or purpose in your life. That's like the light impulse.
Okay.
But maybe you also carry this hidden shadow from childhood, perhaps, telling you you're fundamentally unworthy. The tension between wanting the light and believing in the shadow, that creates the storm inside.
Right.
And the lower realm just can't hold both of those powerful forces easily, can't reconcile them, so you just experience internal chaos instead.
And the biggest thing keeping us stuck there is buying into the idea that we are that chaos, that false identity.
That's the trap. Believing we are our thoughts, we are our past hurts, we are our emotional reactions, that belief locks us into the cycle, keeps repeating it.
So the shift out, the ascent, is about breaking that identification.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you're stuck in a low realm, external events basically dictate your internal state. The boss sends a tense email, and bam, your stomach clenches before you even open it. Pure reaction.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But as the realm ascends, becomes more spacious, you gain this ability to respond rather than just react. The email lands, you notice the little flicker of tension, maybe take a breath, and then you choose how to proceed clearly. The difference is that pause, that space you now have.
That space is the freedom. Okay, let's get to the roadmap then. If suffering is the base camp, our sources lay out like a 3-stage climb. And the first stage, this is where you say a lot of people get bogged down.
Yeah, the subtle trap. It's crucial. When people start inner work, they often go for the big stuff first, the major traumas, the really toxic patterns, huge anger. And that's important, but the first real threshold is about freeing yourself from the micro-attachments.
Micro-attachments. Okay, these aren't the big dramatic things.
No, they're the quiet ones. The threads that don't seem like a huge deal on their own, but woven together, they keep you chained. We're talking about needing things to be comfortable, always needing the temperature just right or needing constant entertainment.
Right, or needing people to like you or understand you perfectly, or even just needing to be right in some silly little argument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even things that seem positive, like being attached to your specific morning routine or needing acknowledgement for how spiritual you're getting, what the sources call spiritual pride. These are all built on underlying assumptions. I have to be safe, I need validation, things must go my way or I'm not okay. They keep you tied to that realm of constant needing and fearing.
So crossing this threshold, it sounds like playing whack-a-mole with tiny little needs. How do you actually do it?
The practice itself is surprisingly simple, but it demands consistency. Relentless, actually. It's witnessing awareness. So when a micro-attachment pops up, let's say you feel that little spike of irritation because your train is delayed, challenging your need for smooth comfort. You don't fight the irritation. And you don't immediately act on it, like complaining loudly.
You just watch it.
You observe it. You feel the physical sensation of that attachment, that need, fully, without judging yourself for having it. And you consciously allow it to just dissipate, like smoke. By not feeding it energy, you lessen the inner friction it creates over time.
Okay, so that consistent witnessing starts to loosen those subtle threads. Then we move deeper to threshold 2. Transcending self-identity. This feels like the big one, psychologically.
It is. This is where the very foundation of who you think you are starts to look, well, less solid, more like a construct. The I, your personality, your job title, your memories, the family stories you inherited. It's seen as functional, like a vehicle maybe, but not the ultimate driver, not the ultimate reality.
And the practical result of seeing that, does the inner critic finally shut up?
It definitely quiets down a lot because that constant internal chatter, the judging, comparing yourself, defending your position, it's all fundamentally about protecting that fixed, often fragile sense of self.
Right.
When you start to glimpse that the identity is fluid, maybe even temporary, the frantic need to defend it just loses its power.
Yeah.
Suffering rooted in ego thoughts like, I'm not good enough or I have to prove myself, it just doesn't grip you the same way because that I isn't seen as the absolute truth anymore.
Now, the important nuance here, which we have to be clear on, is this isn't about destroying the ego, right? Not self-annihilation.
No, definitely not. It's recontextualization, a crucial difference. The ego doesn't vanish. It gets repositioned. It goes from being the frantic, often unconscious driver of your life to being more like a useful tool, maybe like the GPS, used by your deeper awareness.
Okay.
And you see this reflected in how you experience things, even in language. Instead of getting swamped and thinking, I am anxious, the perspective shifts. It becomes, anxiety is arising in this field of awareness that is me.
That shift from I am to it arises, that's huge. You become the space, not the feeling.
Exactly. The difference is vast. You're the spacious field, not the temporary weather pattern moving through it.
And that spaciousness, that's what allows entry into threshold 3, union with the infinite. This is where the traditions talk about non-dual awakening, samadhi, gnosis, merging with the source.
That's the territory. The boundary just blurs. The felt sense of separation between you and everything else starts to dissolve. It becomes a seamless unity. And the sources say something really beautiful here. Trouble doesn't really appear in this state. because trouble, fundamentally, is born from separation, from boundaries, subject versus object, me versus them.
Yeah.
If there's no inherent separation, there's no root conflict left to generate that deep suffering or anxiety.
So the master, someone living from there, isn't trying to control life anymore. They're just flowing with it.
They're living spontaneously from that infinite current, yeah. Their lives start reflecting the coherence of the source itself. Synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences, tend to increase dramatically. Decisions feel less like wrestling and more like just following an obvious current.
And obstacles.
Obstacles get instantly reframed. They're seen as pointers, as guides, maybe course corrections, rather than as personal attacks or punishments.
Okay, this whole ascent sounds amazing, maybe a bit abstract, but stabilizing it, which is our next segment, that takes real practical effort, right? Let's talk about the actual routines masters use to keep that ascended state stable.
Absolutely. It turns out the highest wisdom often requires the most diligent inner housekeeping. And the core intention behind these practices isn't about fixing yourself. It's more about revealing what's hidden, letting the light of awareness permeate the dense spots, the blockages.
Makes sense. So what's first on the daily checklist for stabilizing?
Morning silence and inner scan. Critically important.
Hmm.
Before you plug into the world, no phone, no news, nothing. You just sit quietly. And you don't think so much as you feel inside.
Right.
You notice where the tension is hiding. Maybe it's in your jaw, your shoulders, your gut. And you just consciously breathe into those spots, gently inviting the tension to release. It stops yesterday's gunk from setting the tone for today.
And then tackling the shadows that inevitably pop up during the day.
Right. Shadow integration. We all have these parts. We've pushed away shame, anger, unmet needs, whatever. Instead of continuing to reject them, the practice is to let them surface when they do there. Maybe it's a random memory or a sudden uncomfortable feeling.
And then
You turn towards it. You hold it with compassion. You acknowledge its presence, maybe even its underlying need. You might even speak to it internally, essentially welcoming that rejected part back into the whole field of your awareness. Less inner war.
we mentioned energy earlier, chi, prana. The third practice is about keeping the physical system clear.
Yeah, energy circulation. Think of it like keeping the plumbing clear in a house. The body has these energy pathways, meridians, nadis, whatever you want to call them, and they get clogged by that internal friction we talked about.
So how do you clear them?
Using focused breathing, sometimes visualization, or even gentle micro movements like you see in Tai Chi or Qigong, you're consciously encouraging that life force energy chi prana to flow smoothly and refine those blockages. It gives the refined consciousness a clearer, more stable vessel to operate through.
Okay, the fourth one sounds maybe the hardest because it's constant. Conscious action.
It takes practice,
Oh,
for sure. It means actively choosing presence over just running on autopilot throughout your day. When you walk, you actually feel your feet on the ground. When you listen to someone, you really listen. You're not just waiting to talk. When you make a decision, you make it from that spacious place of the higher realm, not just from an old reactive trigger. This constant practice of being present really solidifies the realm, makes it more resilient to external bumps.
And the last one, wrapping up the day.
Night dissolution. Before you drift off to sleep, take a few moments to reflect on the day. Not to judge, but to notice. You consciously forgive yourself for any moments you slipped out of presence, you forgive others for whatever happened, and you actively release all the day's tasks, worries, emotional baggage.
Like wiping the slate clean.
Exactly. That surrender is key. It ensures you don't carry the lower frequency static of the day into your rest or drag it into the next morning.
So if someone really commits to this kind of inner housekeeping day in, day out, how do they know it's actually working? Beyond just having a good day here and there, what are the solid signs of genuine transformation over, say, months or years?
Good question. We look for about 5 key indicators that show the realm is truly stabilizing and ascending. First is emotional stability. It's not that you become a robot and never feel sadness or irritation again,
Right.
but the big overwhelming waves of anger, despair, the crushing mood swings, they consistently fade. Reactions become more proportional and they pass more quickly.
Okay, that makes sense. What's second?
Clarity of purpose. And this isn't usually like some grand mission statement you force yourself to write down. It's more of a spontaneous knowing that emerges from within. You just know why you're here, or at least what the next right step is for you. It feels natural.
Third.
Those synchronicities increase. You start noticing more meaningful coincidences. The universe seems to kind of line things up for you in response to your inner clarity. Decisions and alignments feel less effortful, more guided.
Fourth is compassion deepens.
Yes, you genuinely feel the suffering of others, maybe even more deeply than before. But crucially, you do it without losing your own center. You don't get swamped by their pain or take it on as your own. You can hold space for it.
And the ultimate benchmark.
Inner peace and turmoil. This is the real test. The external world can still be chaotic, a global crisis, a personal loss, relationship difficulties, but inside, you maintain this steady, unshakable core of calm. That's the proof the ascent is real and stable.
Because the world didn't have to change.
Exactly. The world is as it is. But your experience of it has fundamentally shifted because you have shifted.
But it's not always a smooth climb, right? Even with the map and the practices, people stumble, they hit plateaus or even slide back. Let's talk about the common pitfalls.
Yes, crucial to be aware of these. Because the sources remind us, these obstacles aren't failures, they're actually part of the path, more lessons, if you meet them consciously.
What's the most dangerous one?
Probably the spiritual ego. That sneaky thought that says, wow, I'm really getting somewhere now. I'm advanced. I don't need to look at that uncomfortable feeling anymore. The moment you stop the honest self-examination, you create rigidity. And rigidity is the definition of a lower, denser realm.
Yeah, I can see how that happens. What else?
Impatience. Big one. Wanting that instant enlightenment, trying to leapfrog the stages. People skip the patient, sometimes tedious groundwork of releasing those micro-attachments. The result, their inner system isn't strong enough to actually hold the higher frequencies stably. Leads to burnout or falling back hard.
And being attached for the shiny objects.
Right, attachment to experiences. Chasing bliss states, wanting visions, needing psychic phenomena as proof. If you're only focused on the fireworks, you miss this steady, quiet awareness that is the actual doorway to lasting change.
Okay. What about relating to others?
Two things there. Isolation, thinking you know best, and cutting yourself off from feedback or community. And the opposite, in a way. Burnout from just pushing too hard too fast, especially energetically, without allowing time for rest and integration.
So the key is seeing these pitfalls not as roadblocks, but as signals.
Exactly. Signals to pay attention. If you meet them with that same witnessing awareness, they just show you where the next piece of work lies. They become doorways, not dead ends.
Okay, so for someone listening right now, feeling that pull, wanting to start, what's the most immediate, actionable first step they can take today? Especially for tackling that first threshold, the micro-attachments.
Start right now. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Step 1. Just sit quietly for 10 minutes. Seriously, that's it. Don't try to achieve anything profound. Just notice your breath. Notice any tension in your body.
Okay, 10 minutes. Step 2.
When some discomfort arises, could be a restless thought, a worry, a physical ache, don't push it away. Actually welcome it. Give it permission to just be there for a moment. Let it show itself without resistance.
Step 3.
Gently ask yourself, inwardly, what part of me is seeking control right now? Or maybe, what part feels threatened? Just bring your awareness, that compassionate presence, to that feeling of needing control or safety. Don't fight it. Just see it.
In step 4, pick one specific thing.
Yeah, pick just one micro-attachment for the day. Maybe it's the need for that first cup of coffee to feel okay, or the irritation when someone interrupts you, or the urge to check your phone constantly. Just pick one and watch it with curiosity all day. Notice the little energy spike when it arises, the friction when it's not met.
And finally, step 5, before sleep.
Just run that quick reflection we mentioned. What little thing bothered me today? What story was I invested in being right about? And then consciously practice letting go of the need to hold on to it. Do this daily, even imperfectly. The compound effect starts to genuinely raise that baseline vibrational field.
We started this whole deep dive talking about that poetic promise, that all trouble vanishes when the realm rises. Let's end by getting real about what vanishes actually means here.
Right. It's not that challenges, difficulties, or even painful events stop happening in the world. That's probably unrealistic.
Okay.
It's that your fundamental relationship to all that turbulence changes completely. When you're stuck in the lower realm, you are the battleground. The conflicts, internal and external, feel like they are raging inside you. They define you.
But when you ascend,
You become more like the sky. The storms, difficult emotions, challenging situations, they still happen, they still pass through, but they pass through the vast space of your awareness. You, at your core, remain untouched, remain the sky.
So the master's secret isn't getting rid of all storms.
No, that's impossible in a dynamic universe. The secret is living from a realm that is so deep, so wide, so luminous, that any passing storm is no longer fundamentally threatening. It's just weather.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is, and if you follow this path with genuine sincerity, patiently dismantling the attachment, seeing through the fixed identity, opening to that connection with the infinite power, the sources promise your life itself starts to transform. It becomes less of a struggle and more of an offering.
Wounds become wisdom.
Conflicts become guides. You don't achieve some kind of rigid, static perfection. That's not the goal. You simply become real, more fully, authentically human, connected to the source of your being. And maybe that, becoming real, is the ultimate ascension.
If you felt resonance, commit to performing one small practice per day from Section 9. Comment below which threshold, release, identity, or union you feel most drawn to or blocked by. Like and subscribe if you want more deep spiritual content rooted in inner mechanics, not cliches. Share this video with one friend who is truly searching, not just casually curious. May your realm rise, may your heart rest, and may your life sing the secret of the boundless.